Goed, onze volgende twee gasten zijn twee personen die uit Engeland komen. Usman Raja is een Britse moslim, ex-kickbokser en de meest succesvolle deradicaliseerder van Groot-Brittannië. The Unity Initiative. Gentlemen, welcome on stage. So, let's start with the video, with the movie of your organization.
Teaching cage fighting to recently released terror convicts.
Tie now, through the hip.
One man's surprising and unorthodox game plan to lower the risk of an attack on the London Olympics.
This environment challenges you from the very beginning. Let's go.
British authorities say his method is working like nothing has before. Each kick, each punch is moving closer to helping cage the country's terror threat.
All right, gentlemen, I had the opportunity home to see the full movie on CNN. It's amazing how your message went through, bounced all over the world, even on CNN in the United States. What makes you so successful?
There is no one strategy. Yeah. There is an understanding that overarcs everything we do, but there is no one strategy because in the Muslim tradition they say the paths to God are as many as the breaths of creation. You know, so every moment is potentially a way to bring someone back to a correct understanding. Yeah. Whereas if you go in with a strategy, then you're already going in with a script. And the script might be, you're trying to fit a triangle through a square. It may not work. Yeah. Even when we actually see the radicals, with the so-called radicals we try not to go in there with any prejudice. What I want to go into the room with, or what Uthman wants to go into the room with, is the understanding that in front of me is a human being. And in front of me is someone that was once a child. And in front of me was someone that was once as helpless as every other child, and as willing to love as every other child, and as willing to have faith as every other child. But between that point till now, things have happened in this person's life that have ingrained on the person's psyche in such a way that they've changed them. But beyond all of that is still that child.
You approach them with an open heart and inequality.
Yes. It's only with this that we can come with that compassion, with that understanding that intrinsically we share the same humanity and we tap into their humanity.
And one of the questions that you've got to ask, and it's a universal question, is if someone packs their bags and leaves, even if they're not Muslim, even if they could be whatever they are, some type of punk rocker or whatever they are, if they pack their bags and leave, what's the universal answer to that question? Why did you leave? Because I didn't belong. Yeah, and this is the thing. It's like we have to start looking and saying, okay, how can we offer positive activism? How can we create cultural sensitivity within the frontline services, the police, the teachers? Yeah, how can they understand that, well, maybe this person is just practicing their faith rather than they're radical?
A complete 360 approach of the whole problematic or the whole theme. We've been talking about domestic radicals. We've been talking about people who were potentially threats to national security within United Kingdom. But what about those who took the decision already to leave the United Kingdom and to return back to the country? How do you see them? And they let's say they committed war atrocities. How do you see them, as criminals or rather as victims?
You're dealing with human beings, and the thing with human beings is that you're not, the state of the human being changes from one of indulgence within a deed to remorse. And that's what we're there for.
Yes, we have a returnee who's been radicalized, who's coming back home. But we need something robust as an international community to deal with the root issue of alienation, but the ideologies that was put in to the person who felt that sense of alienation to give him a meaning. Yeah. Because that's what this ideology did. It took that alienation and gave it meaning. And this person's identity was forged around this meaning, yes? And the strange thing is with this new radical ideology is none of its preachers are actually classically trained in scholarship. They're all technocrats. Whether it's Dawahri, Bin Laden, all of these names, they're all technocrats. None of them were classically schooled Islamic scholars. Engineers, doctors. So these are people who see the world like most technocrats do, and no detriment to technocrats, but theology there's a gray area in theology, yes? And also in legislation there's always gray areas, but technocrats want to say yes or no, right, wrong. And when you take that mindset and apply it to theology and apply it to religion, it becomes absolutist.
A blue logical approach to the subject, which is not...
black and white.
Black and white,
and it's absolutist. Islam against the rest of the world, or us against everyone else, you see? And that's what needs to be tackled. The fact that these people have been given the podium. Yeah? And the platform hasn't been opened up for the people who represent normative Islam that has existed for 1,400 years. The same normative Islam that allowed the Bumyan statues in Afghanistan to stand for 1,400 years and only be blown up in the last decade. And allowed the oldest churches in Christendom to be in the Muslim world, and the oldest Jewish communities to be in the Muslim world, and to have existed with Zoroastrian communities and Hindu communities and Buddhists. That was normative Islam. This is a new phenomenon.